Hello, and you're listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm Hector.
And this week we're talking about Superman Returns.
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand and trust me, the book was better.
Holy crap, here we are. We're back. Dude, this is the first episode of 2016.
Woo, I'm privileged.
Episode 151. And not only are we returning, but ironically, so is Superman.
Yeah. My God.
From his
It's like you planned it.
little jaunt that they chose to completely cut out of the film.
Yeah, strange that.
Sort of like, well, at least, I mean, Batman Returns did it worse, didn't they? I mean, he didn't go anywhere.
No.
He was there the whole time.
Yeah, true.
No scene where he, like, turns up at Wayne Manor with his suitcase and his tan lines around his mouth. Nothing.
Yeah, ironically, he returned in Begins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so strange. And he fucked off in the last one, Rises.
Yeah.
Yeah. He went off for, 7 years and then came back. And in this one, Superman disappears for 5 years. But they cut the scene which showed where he went. Crazy. And
Which is probably the most artistic scene in the actual movie.
Yeah.
Like one of the most visually interesting scenes in the film.
Has it been put onto, because when I was reading up on some of the trivia, it apparently at that point had not been released on a DVD or cut back into it or anything because it was shot in IMAX 3D.
Yeah, apparently it's on the anthology release.
Oh, I've got that.
You'll have this deleted scene.
Well, should have watched it.
It's certainly online. I watched it a couple of times.
Do you agree that it should have been cut?
Well, by cutting it, and I've got this to discuss
we're
later
going to
on,
talk about this properly when in order.
but by cutting it, they also completely kind of change the complexion of the film. By cutting it, they insert a scene which changes what they're talking about, i.e. the parenthood, or the parent... Who the kids' parents are, basically.
Yeah, because this is very much a... they were trying to make a Superman movie for a long time. Of course, there was Tim Burton's version, very famous, that never happened, which was going to have Nicolas Cage. Kevin Smith wrote a version. There was all this stuff with, like, Brainiac and Doomsday and all these great big
Bizarro.
Superman sci-fi stories, yeah. And then finally they go, okay, Bryan Singer, you can do it about a paternity suit. That's the story we want to tell, and that's all we've got here. And there's two novels. There's the adult version, which is who wrote that one?
Marv Wolfman,
the Wolfman. Oh,
famous horror comic writer.
But this one, the junior novelization, which let's bear in mind, this is like a 5-hour movie, so I didn't want to do the big one. And this junior one is still about 180 pages, which is a pretty fair whack for a young'un. And this one's written by another comics professional, Louise Simonson.
I've always said Simonson.
You would say Simonson?
I would, but it is actually written Simonson now that you mention it.
I would go for a double M for Simon.
Maybe.
Yeah. 1M? Simon, in my book. An American comic book writer and editor, best known for her work on comic book titles such as Power Pack, X Factor, New Mutants, Superman: The Man of Steel, and Steel. So this is someone that is very intimate with this character.
Yes.
In a very sexy way. So, you would think she knows the score here, and that we're going to get some real depth and revelations and sort of an experience that perhaps we don't get from watching the film.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
I certainly would. So let's get straight into it then, seeing as how you seem to belligerently not reading out the notes that you've written on the page here.
Louise Simonson is also the wife of comic book legend Walt Simonson. Or Simonson, sorry.
I reckon
now that I've
Simonson.
been corrected.
But, who did Thor?
Thor, famously, yeah.
Yeah.
Shitloads of other things.
There we go.
So now I'm working on a series called Ragnarok, which is basically Thor, but in a different universe.
Is it a man Thor, or is it like penis Thor or vagina Thor? Because I know there's two now.
It's definitely Picture Thor.
Picture Thor. Okay, yep. Doesn't have a big old catcher's mitt down there like the Natalie Portman Thor?
No.
Yeah. Okay. The beginning. Let's get straight. Look at this fucking momentum for the
Superman
new year,
Begins.
2016. It is just, it's
Straight
funny
into it.
because this film has this same kind of momentum. You'd expect it to open with a great big action sequence, but this is what we get. This is the beginning of the book. The ship was a shimmering crystal whirling through space, and in its sparkling center, Superman slept.
Oh, am I going? He was dressed in dark grey, so he would have been easy to spot, lying in suspended animation within his crystalline cold sleep cocoon. But no one was there to look for him. Superman was alone. In some ways, he had been alone for almost all of his life. As he slept, he dreamed.
Always great way to start your superhero fantasy film. Huge action scene. Get straight into it, Singer.
I think more movies should start with the lead character waking up or being asleep.
Being asleep.
Isn't that like the natural state of that's how our day starts?
Yeah. Imagine Batman v Superman later on in the year. We're all excited. Cuts to Bruce Wayne in bed.
Well, the perfect character arc for both of them would be to wake up in separate beds and by the end of the movie go to
They're
sleep
in the same bed. Oh my god, that would be
It's the
wonderful.
hero's journey. The movie beginning is even more incredibly dull than this book beginning. So it's just Marlon Brando reprising his role, I guess, as Jor-El, even though he was dead.
From beyond the grave.
Waffling on in that horrible Island of Dr. Moreau English accent that he does about sons becoming fathers and fathers becoming sons. And then, bam, a star goes supernova on a planet which presumably is Krypton, so I guess it's presuming that you've actually watched a Superman movie before, is destroyed. And then, yeah, straight into 5 minutes of credits.
Yeah, which is rare these days, isn't it? To have a huge credit scene with just names coming up. And I hadn't realised until I watched
especially, that's usually like a cool-off. Like, you've had like that big action sequence,
Yeah.
like a 20-minute James Bond opening scene, and then you can sit back and smoke a fucking cigarette and watch 20 minutes of credits.
And the titles themselves, although they're going up against sort of galaxies and computer-generated asteroids and meteorites and stuff, are totally retro Donna Superman.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of a weird choice.
But that's the whole thing is that choice. He's just trying to carry on the tradition of those first two Donna films.
But yeah, as you said, I mean, when you're sitting there watching this thing, I swear it's like 10 minutes before you see a human face.
Yeah, basically.
Like you are just sitting there, you see rocks and more
Well, that's kind of like
rocks
it might be Marlon Brando's face.
and
He's superimposed over
stars
stuff.
and words, but there's no people. There's like nothing to hitch onto for a really long
Not at all,
time.
yeah. It must go for like 10 minutes. It's 5 minutes of waffle, 5 minutes of credits, and it's 10 minutes before anything fucking happens.
And we should say right from
And
the
then it's a Scrabble game.
beginning here. Yeah, well, the book actually goes on a lot of variants, a lot of tangents compared to the film. There's a lot of stuff in here which
I think they
isn't
changed a lot of things when they
in the
started
film.
to film.
Yeah, so this is the early version. And while he's sleeping, these are the sorts of things he's dreaming about. He was a baby, cradled in his father's arms. Then an earthquake sent a shockwave through his world. The red sun flared, larger, brighter, but he wasn't afraid. Soon Krypton will be destroyed, his father said. Despite overwhelming evidence, my plea to evacuate this planet has been ignored. But I guess to the baby that sounded like...
Basically. Also, I think you're old enough now to know that your mother and I are getting a divorce.
Jor-El placed his son in an egg-shaped cradle. That's very Mork. Nestled in a ship of crystal. He will not be alone. He will never be alone, which totally contradicts the very beginning of this book, which says he was always alone. So
basically.
no wonder no one trusted Jor-El and his theories. Liar.
I think it's sweet. You can just imagine that this scene would work better if playing Michael Jackson's Grammy Award-winning single "You Are Not Alone" in the background.
Oh, yeah. Do I know that one?
Well, I'm not going to sing it. Do you have are you allowed to play snippets of songs?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we've ever done that before. You realise I'm editing this and it's going up, like, tonight.
Oh, okay.
And then you want me to add, like, music.
Oh, I can put it on Spotify and play it in the background.
Get a band in. What are the lyrics? Do you know the lyrics?
The lyrics are written down there. So you have baby Superman singing, "Another day has gone, I'm still all alone. How could this be? You're not here with me. You never said goodbye. Someone tell me why. Did you have to go and leave my world so cold?" And then you can imagine when the chorus kicks in, Jor-El singing, "But you are not alone. I am here with you. Though we're far apart, you're always in my heart. But you are not alone."
Gotta be better than Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Yeah, basically.
That sounds quite good. And I think as well, if they could get that...
But that sums it up. It's like the verse singing, the chorus answering.
And if they could get that dancing baby from Ally McBeal to it, like, well, he hasn't done much lately. That would be, that would be fantastic.
Definitely out of work.
Oh my god, I think you're onto something here. This will be our stage show. Superman Returns live. Yes, so the infant is shot out into space, but then adult Superman wakes up, and it turns out it was all a dream. Even though that's exactly how it happened. Like, it's more of a memory than a dream, right?
Yeah,
I mean, nobody was naked at school or anything like that.
Or his teeth were falling out.
Yeah.
It's another one of those non-canonical filmic superpowers that they've given him. He can accurately predict the past.
So, like, you know, he was suddenly eating a giant marshmallow or anything like that.
And it turned out to be his pillow.
Yeah. Just, it was all real. And I also wondered, like, when he wakes up, this is a bit base, but do you think he wakes up with a super erection? Because... you know, when you're dozing and you're dreaming and then you wake up and stuff, it's just one of those things.
Alright, bear with me here, but I don't actually think it's possible for Superman to have a penis.
Okay.
Think about this. If you leave aside the unknowns of him having Kryptonian biology instead of being human,
yeah.
But if we were to presume that he functions in a downstairs capacity like any normal Earthling person would.
Downstairs capacity, like Downton Abbey.
No, upstairs, downstairs.
Oh,
maybe?
yeah, okay, yeah.
Classical.
Yeah.
In his plumbing department.
In his gentleman area.
In his gentleman zone, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Are we getting there yet?
That's not the Phantom Zone, though. That's completely
that's completely different
thing.
So yeah, he's growing up in Smallville, and he's a normal teenager, and his normal formative years were spent on Earth. So yeah, I don't know about you, but my teenage years were a non-stop cavalcade of inappropriate and poorly timed classroom erections.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Endless bouts of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And some, sticky nocturnal episodes.
It's natural. It happens to everyone.
And all of this occurred without my possessing the ability to see through Lana Lang's trainer bra to Lana Lang's bosoms.
Holy, yeah, so that's a whole other element.
Yeah, I know. So I can only imagine the exponential effect such a superpower would have had on my poor teenage meat
yes.
and personage.
Yes.
And Superman has this power and even more powers. And particularly, Superman would surely have super sperm.
Yes. Yes, something Kevin Smith has been very vocal about the power of his sperm. Because that's the thing, he's in a spaceship right now while he's having this dream. A little cocoon. You don't want a hull breach.
You hope, those walls are insulated. But yeah, I mean, just think about what effect the super sperm would have on his surroundings. So put aside the image of a super teen ejaculate blasting bullet-like holes through the upper floors of the Kent farmhouse and riddling Clark Kent while he worked on his tractor like he was Sonny fucking Corleone in The Godfather.
Yes.
So cast aside the fact that he was anything like the teenager that I was, pretty soon every building in Smallville would look like it was made out of Swiss cheese.
This is true.
The question is, what happens to this foul ejaculate once it's out there in the open air? Like, it's blasted like a rifle shot from the end of his super knob.
Yep.
And it's probably travelling so fast and so powerfully that it's now hovering about in one of the upper levels of the stratosphere, and there's 250 million odd super-powered, potent little tadpoles squirming about the place.
Squirming around the Earth like the Earth is an ovum.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And, the contents of a human squirt can live for up to 5 days in the right conditions. So how fucking long would super sperm last?
Super space sperm.
Super
Imagine
space
a
sperm?
lot of our satellite imagery. It's
just gone.
Just sperm.
Just a white mist. And they're all up there with one imperative, which is to bind with an ovum. Any goddamn fucking ovum.
Yes.
And they've all got these super senses too, you would imagine, above Earthling sperm.
So they would come swimming down into our...
You imagine? What the fuck is going to stop them from tearing through the female population's innards?
Yeah.
tearing them to shreds.
That should be the thread of this film.
Yeah, that would make a more exciting film, I think.
Better than Luther's plan. I don't want to spoilers.
Yeah, so if Superman had a penis that was capable of getting these secret erections and having secret eruptions,
Yes.
then the world would basically have ended.
True.
So no, Luke, I do not think he wakes up with a super erection. And he was also dreaming about the death of his entire race, dude, and that's not particularly sexy.
Oh, but I wake up with an erection without having a sexy dream. It's
You often dream about the death of the entire
it's
human
just
race.
something about sort of, laying there in a relaxed state. I roll over, pogo out of the bed. But, I don't know. He's obviously, we can see from the cover of this book, because this is Underpants Superman. This is the last bastion of Underpants Superman.
Maybe that's like a special binding brace to stop this from actually happening.
Well, there's something there. It's not massive, but there's...
I was reading about that. They actually had massive meetings and discussions about how big his package should be.
Yeah.
And because they decided this was going to be like a PG-13 movie, like, oof,
Friendly Superman.
friendly bulge size.
Yeah, it's not... There's not much happening there.
Non-threatening, but not
Yeah.
female or Kendall.
And his underpants have belt loops, which I think is kind of cool.
Yours don't.
As well. Well, yeah, I mean, that's really... Because otherwise you wouldn't need a belt, right? Because it wouldn't be doing much.
I should explain to the listener that Luke is staring very long at Superman's crotch right now.
I just think it's really... I think it's a weird
He has
look.
not broken eye contact for at least 2 minutes.
I know when Henry Cavill, the first pictures came out and he didn't have the underpants, there were fans that were angry. And like John Byrne... famous
classic
crotchety
Man of Steel,
Superman artist.
I mean, Man of Steel was his baby,
yeah,
so
yeah, and he's just
calling
like,
it
no.
that.
And if anyone said underpants, he'd get angry. He'd just spit through his beard. He'd say like, "Trunks, they're trunks."
Because there's a massive difference.
Yeah, but here, and the weird thing about
Bikini
him
briefs.
for
The
me,
bikini briefs.
yeah, for his briefs, that they're kind of muddy, reddy brown.
Yeah,
It's
they
just
muddied
like-
the colours, didn't they? Like, he used to be like a bright blue, and they've kind of dulled it a little bit.
that dirty, reddy brown underpants.
He did go into space in a grey suit, so maybe somehow...
He's standing there, arms
grey.
folded, low camera, showing off his russet gusset.
Do you reckon they tucked? Because, like, that, as you said, that is a kind of small bulge.
I just think it would be really humiliating, just the whole process. Because you imagine at some point, a costume person or someone is like, "Hi, Brandon. So here are the underpants. We've got 12 of them to begin with. If you blast holes in any of them or anything like that, let us know. We're just going to do a little bit of a fitting. Okay. We're just going to put a little bit more in. No, we're going to put a bit less in there." It's just weird.
You know, especially when your director is Bryan Singer, who has some history of potentially being a sexual harasser or worse.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly.
So,
I don't even know if that's alleged anymore. Some of these ones have been proven.
I think he got, didn't he get, like, acquitted and stuff, and that's why he's doing X-Men Apocalypse?
I think he settled out of court on a few of these things.
Okay, well,
There's more than one.
yeah. But don't you think, even from a story perspective, I'm sorry to I know, like, we've only just done the very opening of this film, but I
And
think
it
some of this
non-stop
stuff
pain talk.
worth talking about. Don't you think there is an onus on his friends? Like, don't you think Lois and Jimmy are bad friends? Because if we knew someone that came from, like, a different place, whose customs were different, who may not know our ways, we'd be tolerant to that. But if they did something like came out wearing their underpants in clearly the wrong way, wouldn't you be like, can we come aside? Actually,
These battle trunks.
everyone here wears them on the inside. That's kind of weird to wear your red underpants where everyone can see them. That's why I think that's what a good friend would do. And he would go, "Oh yeah," but obviously they haven't said anything. They've just let it go as if it's normal.
I mean, in this universe, they are such bad friends that they don't even realise that their friend, Clark Kent, is actually Superman.
That's why I like the Silver Age comics the best, because, I mean, that was a Superman. He had such great friends that he made wax mannequins of them in a room in his home. He'd
Which
be
is
like,
solitude, yeah.
"Here's my Jimmy Olsen room with all these mannequins of Jimmy Olsen."
It sounds like something Barbara Streisand does in her basement.
I think it was beautiful. Anyway, he's awake now. And he's remembering things now that happened to him instead of dreaming them. So it's pretty much the same, but Now he's actually remembering instead of dreaming. He remembers that, he lives on Earth as Clark Kent. He works as a journalist and...
Above all, he valued truth. And the fact that he was forced to live a double life, secret even from Lois Lane, the woman he had come to love, was tearing him apart.
Yeah, that's your first mistake. Turning Superman into Tommy Wiseau.
You're tearing me apart, Lois! That was a really bad impersonation.
No, it was lovely.
Oh, hi, Zardy. Anything for my warrior princess. Luther betrayed me. I'm fed up with this world. Oh, that'll do.
No, I like this one. This is my favourite. Go on.
Which one?
The last one.
Well, I got the results of the test back. I can't do it. It's definitely breast Kent, sir. It's Ma Kent. Clark Kent.
You heard my theory that the only person to play Bizarro in a Superman film is Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, well.
Wiseau. But the trick
It's in the
is,
name.
you tell him that he's playing Superman, and he doesn't know. So he just plays the whole thing as if he's playing Superman.
I do like that theory.
It totally
That
works.
plan, yeah.
Yeah. Alright. But seriously though, Superman shouldn't be all emo and worried about his double life and all that. Like, he should embrace that and love it. 50 Superman didn't give a crap about that. He was proud of it.
He's a emo as much as he's a hipster with his clear-framed Clark Kent lenses, and he's certainly rocking the flannel in most of those farmhouse scenes.
He's, the barn is full of Nirvana posters. And it turns out, what happens, why he's out in space, is Earth's astronomers have found a signal in space, which they believe to be a distress call from the destroyed Krypton. Why they would jump to that outlandish conclusion is anyone's guess, but Superman heads off into space to find his birth planet and find out who he really is.
Spoilers, it was totally Lex Luthor.
Yes, and we're going to get back to that because there's at least 3 times in this book we get the revelation that Lex planted this signal. And if you start to think about his plan, it's even dumber than the plan to rescue Han from Jabba's palace.
Oh, it is a crazy plan.
We'll get there. He heard nothing and saw, instead of survivors, an eerie greenish glow. Radiation from the exploded red sun had transformed the crystals of his homeworld. They'd become kryptonite, a deadly poison to Superman. His stomach swirled. So this is the scene they cut. Him going out to find his planet and being surprised to find out that it is actually destroyed. Just as everybody knew from the opening credits.
Yes.
So, yeah, basically, this is a fool's errand. It's taken him 5 years to do this thing. So 5 years away from Earth. He gets there to find the remnants of his dead planet, only to find it's still dead and poisonous. And within minutes of getting there, of this huge year-long journey, he's got totally sick-ass stomach cramps, and he turns around and goes home. Like, within minutes.
But don't you also think, like, he is possessed of Kryptonian technology, which is supposed to be superior to Earth technology. Somehow, Earth technology has picked up signals from 5 light years away, and he doesn't fucking question that. He has to travel for 5 years,
He has
or
to
2.5 years,
see it for
to
himself.
discover this.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you haven't seen the deleted scene, which Luke hasn't, it is online these days. It's a more interesting opening sequence. Online? What?
I'm old. I don't
Sorry,
know
man.
how you can get into
I'm
access.
using lingo the kids
I don't
will
know
understand.
how you can access this stuff.
www.online.com.
Slow down.
Anyway, you can find the deleted scene at the address that I just specified.
Yes.
Or as part of the anthology released. So yeah, Soups is travelling in a crystal spaceship to Krypton. It's quite like a arty, expressive scene. It's really, it's all dark. You would describe it as Kubrickian, I guess. It's kind of reminiscent of like 2001.
Yeah.
It looks really good. It doesn't mean jack shit. As you said, he flies in his crystal spaceship, which you'd assume came from the Fortress of Solitude. He looks at the planet for a bit. He turns a spotlight on, basically. There's this big S carved into the planet, and then you see, oh no, there's all this kryptonite in seams and stuff, and he starts getting a little stomach ouchie, and he like falls over, and then he flies away. Which, it looked better than the opening that they went with.
Sweating like he ate a really big burrito.
And yeah, it's, as you said, he's gone for 5 years, 2.5 years there, and he's there for 5 minutes.
And
And he's put off because he gets a little bit of a tummy cramp.
There was a big cost to this as well, right?
Yeah, it was like $10 million just to film that one sequence, and then they decided to go with Boredom McGee for the opening scene.
I read that too, because when I was trying to think of this film, and I hadn't seen it since the cinema, and I'd read that it cost over $200 million, I was thinking, where is that money on screen? And then when you see it, like...
It's all in Kevin Spacey's pocket, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it wasn't in Brandon Routh's pocket.
That's for
I'm
sure.
sure Kate Bosworth didn't cost much.
No, that was like a favour to Kevin Spacey as well. Like, he worked with her on Beyond the Sea. He's Bobby Darin was another dude. That was the biopic that he did of him.
Don't Worry, Be Happy?
Yeah, Bobby McFerrin.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was mistaken.
Is that
yeah.
what it was?
Yeah.
So 10 million. But then you look and you think there is money in this film, but the money's in places which just doesn't.
Rich and Bob's.
Like when Kevin Spacey
That's right, you haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life. I forgot about that.
No, I have, but I don't remember it. But when Kevin Spacey comes out after
killing you with his classic
in the
references.
funeral scene, or well, not the funeral, when all the grieving people are there. There's like all these dressed up extras and stuff. Like, and you just see this whole room full of people, and you think,
So every
this
scene, like,
could have been done with like 5 people. It wouldn't.
the Kent farmhouse. Apparently, they built the whole thing on a soundstage, and then decided, oh, this isn't good enough, and so then they actually went to Tamworth, I think, in like New South Wales, and like built it there.
Yeah.
And they had to, because it was a fucking drought in Australia at the time, they had to get cornfields and stuff. Like, how much money did they expend just to grow that corn?
It is crazy.
It's probably each piece of corn had like a stick behind it and it was stuck in the fucking ground.
I don't even think we're caught up to the beginning of the movie yet. We're half an hour. We're going to get there. This is the first one back from 2016. This is a new thing. Rather than do an episode every week, which is really hard work, I'm going to do one really long episode for the year.
Yeah.
So
This is going to be,
yeah. This is going to take you about 12 months to listen
52
to.
times the normal.
Yeah.
So
It'll
we'll
be
probably still
50
be here next week recording this.
52 hours. Okay.
I'm sure they won't miss me at work.
So, Superman, he just goes home, and in the film, it's not...
2.5 year trip.
It's not really clear where he
ridiculous.
was. But, we'll get to all that.
It seemingly has not told anybody where he's going.
No, yeah.
Possibly maybe Mark Kent.
Maybe. He hasn't told Lois. She's going to get pissy about that in a tick.
Yeah, it's a woman he's come to love, and he has disappeared into space for 5 years, fully knowing that it would take him 2.5 years or whatever to get there and then to come back, and he hasn't even told her.
No. Crazy.
It's very strange.
But it is about his return. Look, the pacing of this film is fantastic. Alienation, Martha Kent said, looking up from the Scrabble board. She got very accusatory when playing board games.
That reminds me, have you done Alan Dean Foster's Alienation for the Book Was
No.
Better podcast? Free promotion there from Mark Kent.
Yeah, she's a big fan, a favourite film. So look, let's recap. We had a sleeping scene. We had a wicked stomachache scene. Now we've got the Scrabble scene. You nailed it, Singer.
And this is all like the first 10 minutes of the movie. And interestingly, like, if you freeze frame the movie and read all the tiles on the Scrabble board, then, you know, you've basically just wasted 5 minutes of your fucking life. I was hoping, like, to see some cuss words or, you know, the tiles form the shape of a willy or something, but yeah,
There are
it's
words
just
that
nothing.
relate to plot points
Oh, yeah.
that are coming up.
But,
There's
like,
a bit of foreshadowing.
vaguely.
What I think
It's like reading your horoscope in the newspaper. It might relate to what's coming up.
What I think's weirder, in the
Nothing
book...
says bald-headed Lex or anything.
In the book, she's playing Scrabble with her new fiancé.
Yeah, car leaves in the movie,
Yeah.
and you're thinking,
And the meteor comes crashing down, which is Superman returning, as promised in the title. Can't fault him for that. And the guy goes, "Holy crow! We got to call the police." And she's like, "Oh no, that happens all the time. Don't worry about it. Go home."
okay,
And gets rid of him.
the timing of that is he leaves before the crash.
In the movie,
In the movie, yeah.
she's playing Scrabble by herself.
No, a car leaves
Oh.
before, so it's subtle.
Yeah, real subtle.
I don't want you to think like these oldies are getting up to any, you know,
Any mischief?
fluvium.
Well, he was wiping off his.
His mustache.
I just thought.
Draining his
I thought
sideboards.
he'd been drinking milk. So, Clark's ship crashes to Earth, and Martha goes out to pull him out of the wreckage.
She had begun to climb into the pit when he grabbed her shoulder. he whispered and collapsed into her arms.
Mum. So this is one of those weird things where the
This is like-
Australian publisher has changed all the moms and mommies
know
to
what it
mum.
But I don't even know who Ma, like she's colloquially known as Ma Kent.
Makes
Ma
him
and
sound
Pa
like
Kent.
Harry Potter. Mum.
Mummy.
Mum.
Oh, Mummy Kent. I've got a stomach wobbly.
And then, meanwhile, in a luxurious mansion in an exclusive suburb of Metropolis, a lonely and bitter old woman lay dying. Jesus, I'd be bitter too with an intro like that.
No, but then a voice whispers, "But you are not alone. I am here with you. Though you're far away,
Michael Jackson.
I am here to stay."
Always try and insert himself into things
Oh, God.
where it's not needed.
Yeah, I think she's a little bit old.
So this old lady, she dies, and she leaves everything to a handsome blonde man, according to the book, who turns out to be...
You only see the back of his head.
Well, he's wearing a wig. It's Lex
It's a handsome wig.
Luthor.
Sorry.
Now, where is the deleted scene showing what he had to do to this old lady in order to get this deal happening, in order to get her to leave everything?
They can't leave that up to your imagination because she actually tells him, "You've shown me pleasures that I've never felt. That's why you deserve everything."
Yeah.
Which, oh God, you can't help but wonder the absolute abject horror that these poor little doggies have had to witness.
Luthor has no real powers. Or does he? He's got a tongue like Gene Simmons.
Oh, Jesus, and the fingers to match.
He wasn't bald when they started.
Yeah, but, like, sexually, what is Luthor? Like, he, in Superman 1 and Superman 2, and now this, which is effectively Superman 3, without Richard Pryor, he always seems to have a girlfriend. Like, he had Eve in the first one, he's got Kitty in this one, and they don't ever show any affection.
No. I don't
So
know why
are they
any of
there?
his friends are there.
They don't help him in any of his plans. They fuck everything up. They're always goofy henchmen. And the women always, like, shove him aside for Superman. Because, you know, why not? At the first opportunity. They always betray him. It's just, smartest man alive.
Well, his plan's not the smartest man alive, but I feel like I want to tease out a little bit more of the plan before
We won't get there yet.
I
Don't worry.
recap it.
I've got plenty to say about this plan.
All right. I think that scene with the old lady dying, a little too exciting for this book, so let's take it back a notch.
He was home. "Hey, boy," Clark said. "Need to go outside?" The dog wagged his tail and paced stiffly to the bedroom door.
A dog taking a shit. Now, there's the Superman I grew up with. That's the one I know and love.
Dude, that dog's been waiting in the room for 5 years for that shit. Superman should have left the fucking door open when he left.
You hear about dogs waiting for their master for a really long time, and it's really sweet, but I didn't know they had to hold in their shits.
I also thought his dog was superpowered.
And in the book, Martha has saved 5 years of newspapers rather than get Clark an online subscription to the archives. He works there. He could probably read the archives himself. And he's kind of shocked.
You just used the word online. I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
You
well,
learn.
I learn. Because
But
in the
is there
book-
the internet in this?
no, well, in the
universe?
book, in the film, he like sees the article when he goes back to the Daily Planet. In the book, all the papers are piled up in the barn, and he sits and skims them all.
That's not the way it is in the movie.
And he's kind of shocked to see an article by Lois Lane called "Why the World Doesn't Need Superman."
Yeah, she's basically written 2 famous articles. One about her night with Superman and one about why the world doesn't need Superman. Apparently nobody can connect the actual dots here.
Here's a snippet. For 5 long years, humanity has stared into the sky, waiting, hoping, and praying for Superman's return. We have spent our days asking where he went, debated why he left, and wondered if he's even alive. Clark scanned the rest until he reached the final paragraphs. Exactly what I'm going to do to the rest of this book! Now, she surmises that we always put...
He did. He got stuck in the photo section looking at the underwear model.
always put trust in our saviours, who promise a lot but leave and don't return. So fuck them, who needs them? Like, who is she now? Richard Dawkins?
Sounds
Crazy.
more like Cornel West critiquing Barack Obama. Hashtag feel the burn.
And Clark then sees a lot of disasters and shit on
That one's for
TV.
Kenny.
And he just changes the channel. He's sort of done with being Superman.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, it's not just he's watching a fucking television. He has super hearing. Like, he can hear anything that's going on Earth. So he can listen to it without a TV. So he's basically just ignoring everything that's going on in the world because, you know, the dog needs to have a shit and someone needs to play Scrabble with Mark Kent and, you know, that flannel's not going to wear itself.
Well, this is where the book gives you more insight than the film, because in the film you never really feel he's given up being Superman once he's returned. But in the book.
I don't know. Reading between the lines, that scene made it reasonably obvious. But
in the book, he's always just like, "No, I'm not Superman anymore. If you don't want me, then fine. Fuck you all. You can help yourselves." Look.
So
now, Lois's article was telling him that without hope of his intervention, people would probably solve their own problems. If that was true, the world probably was better off without him. See, this is the action-packed Superman story that every kid out there was dying to read.
And it makes the front page too. Like, it's a slow news half-decade, even with like all these disasters that Superman is failing to prevent.
And we cut to Lex and his crew. They are on a yacht. That's the most exciting thing that's happened so far.
This was his inheritance. Things he did with that.
He got the fancy yacht out of it, and he's out in the Arctic doing shit. So let's meet the crew. There's Grant. He's fat. Riley. He's a weasel. Stanford is the brains. Brutus is the muscles. Kitty Kowalski is Parker Posey. Indy Darling. Parker Posey.
Slumming it for a paycheck.
And Gertrude, who is the yacht.
Is that a name?
It's called Gertrude, okay. Yeah. That's why you read the book, dude.
Sorry, man. Yeah, the fun fact is that Riley, the Weasel, is actually played by the first openly gay Australian rugby league player in Ian Roberts, who played about 200 league games and played State of Origin for New South Wales and Tests for Australia as well. Great player. So Weasel seems like a strange script note. Also the fact that Brutus is the muscle when Riley is like twice his size in the movie.
A lot of Australians popping up in this because it was shot at Fox Studios Australia. So Peter Wilson's
guys that I recognise from
up.
Commercials.
Yeah.
Oh god, Peter Wilson is terrible. She's supposed to be delivering this speech and it is so flat and monotonous when she's on that plane.
They climbed a slope and a cathedral-like structure loomed before them, made of massive crystals soaring out of the ice. Ah, Luther's voice was laced with satisfaction. This is the alien technology that created the constantly swirling storm that led me here. Thank you. Can you think of a less ungainly way to say whatever it is you're trying to say there?
How about, this then is the thing that did the other thing that led to me doing this thing to be here now and about to do some other thing.
Not enough swirling, but very, very close.
Shit, yeah, left out that word.
So they just walk straight into the Fortress of Solitude. Lex just flat out steals the Master Crystal, talks to Marlon Brando, tells him what he wants, just does whatever he wants. Where is the security here?
I know, right? Like, even Apple had fingerprint technology for years. Technologically superior race, my ass.
And in the comics, this would never happen because Superman had a really, really big and heavy key.
Which ties into my no penis theory because he's obviously overcompensating.
He was the only one that could lift it.
Hey ladies, look at me. Click.
And then, meanwhile, Clark returns to the Daily Planet where everything has just changed in these last 5 years. Instead of desktops, they've got laptops and...
Before Clark could say, just call me Clark, Jimmy had bolted off towards the tiny snack room. They have a snack room? Clark stood as directed, staring after him. Since Clark had left, the young photographer had become a man, but he hadn't lost his enthusiasm.
Yeah, what was he before? Like a child, a baby, Jimmy Olsen, baby reporter? I'd read that.
It's a euphemism. They obviously mean that he has had sex.
Oh.
Since Clark's been gone, Jimmy has had his little cherry popped. The next line should read, before he had worn his bow tie slung low, like a weak and spineless virgin. Now Jimmy Olsen wore it high and tight, like a virile sexual man. Clark stood there reveling in the pheromones that poured from his firm, young, manly body. I bet it was Perry White that deflowered him too.
I don't know. When I think of Jimmy Olsen, I always think he's going to be like hanging out with Archie and Jughead. Maybe he had a really crazy milkshake and just went nuts.
He's
on
kind of juvenile. He could do with an older sugar daddy, like, showing him the ropes.
Do you think Jimmy's a sugar baby?
Yeah, basically. Why else is he there? He serves absolutely no purpose. Oh yeah, and also, does no one notice that Clark has been gone precisely as long as Superman? I mean, the fucking Clark Kent is Superman wearing glasses thing is literally staring everybody right in the fucking faces, but this is a pretty glaring oversight. 5 years.
I like the fact, though, that Clark is such a dipshit that no one cares. Like, no one, he's like,
I will say this about Brandon Ruth, and you and I have discussed that we both actually quite like him as Superman. Yeah. He is a lot less goofy in that role and a bit more real and believable as Clark Kent than, say, Christopher Reeve was, who was a bit more slapstick about it.
Yeah.
It's not all, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh, me
sorry, Lois. Oh,
me so
oh.
clumsy.
I'll just put my glasses up.
And Lois isn't here, but she is on TV. They're watching her on TV. She's in a Boeing 777, which is piggybacking a space shuttle. And it turns out as well, she won the Pulitzer Prize for her Saviors of Bullshit editorial, which really does read like that vague kind of opinion piece that a teenage girl might just jot down in a diary.
He left me. Old men are bastards. Yeah, like, I mean, she seems a little young for a Pulitzer, doesn't she? Like, I'm talking the movie Lois right here. She looks like she's in her mid-20s, and probably she actually was at the time. Meaning she was probably pushing 20, maybe still 19 at the time that Superman disappeared. And yet somehow she gets granted a front-page feature in a prestigious publication to air her personal laundries about, spoilers, her deadbeat baby daddy, perhaps, maybe.
Her very visibly dirty laundry, I would say.
Yeah, she's pretty much aired it. It doesn't take much like, her other famous article was called My Night with Superman.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. If we're living in a society now, and this is probably for Australian listeners only, where a reporter is hit on by a cricketer in Chris Gale and now has to suffer the jibes of somehow being into him on social media. Is this not ringing any bells whatsoever?
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I don't think she's been very professional. And I think Clark...
But she won a Pulitzer. She's the ultimate professional.
And Clark's not professional either. Because she's on TV, he knows she's not there. He starts poking around a desk. He's looking at all her stuff. And he finds a photo of her with a handsome man, James Marsden, and a young boy.
Oh, gee. Oh, no. You've been gone, Jimmy spluttered. Fearless reporter Lois Lane is a mommy. But spelt mummy. But I'm surprised she's never told you.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't notice she's wrapped in filthy bandages, sleeping in a pyramid.
And the stench. And that's just Jimmy Olsen making Superman smell his sexually active finger.
You think Jimmy Olsen had a night in a crypt with a mummy? Maybe.
Or a daddy. Wasn't that my
daddy.
suggestion previously?
Could have been. Luther puts a sliver of crystal into the river of a miniature Metropolis diorama. That looks like $10 million right there.
It was a rather big train set.
And that blacks out the entire city and even makes car engines and plane engines and everything stop because of magic and wizards.
Crystals do.
And it also adversely affects the plane that Lois is on.
This was more than a glitch, Lois realised. It was a system failure. She sat back and waited for the news that the launch would be aborted.
Meanwhile, Clark was hoping that Lois's son would be aborted. Is it too late at 5 years old? I don't think so.
Can you imagine if Peter Wilson delivered that line that the mission was to be aborted? She would have mustered as much enthusiasm as she did for the rest of her lines.
Clark, Jimmy said. Lois is on that plane. He looked across the table. There was a wad of money next to Clark's half-eaten sandwich, but Clark was gone. And unfortunately, the next scene isn't him saving Lois. It's Clark writing a very angry Yelp review about his horrible sandwich.
Yeah, like,
I couldn't even finish it!
he's paid for it with a wad of money. That's a pretty fucking expensive sandwich right there. And pimps carry wads of cash, don't they?
And then Clark goes back to his office, gets changed, and finally, 60 pages into the book, we see the suited up Superman. Now, this again, where it's different in the book, is that he's not wearing his costume underneath because he's given up on being Superman. Whereas in the movie, he just opens up his shirt straight away and flies off as Superman. But in the book, his suit is in his suitcase up in the office, so he has to, like, even though it's obviously time is of the issue here, he goes like up an elevator shaft, climbing up as Clark Kent, and bursts in and grabs his outfit.
Fly up as Superman,
he does all sorts of bullshit.
Oh god!
Then he puts on the suit and then he goes crazy. Then whoosh! Superman was in the air. Metropolis stretched below him. He scanned the sky, then soared upward. Superman had returned.
Get it? Because, like, it's a title of the book. It's like, I like that line in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins where they say, Batman had begun.
Yeah, and when he wakes up in the third one and it's like the Dark Knight rises.
The Dark Knight had risen. Well, that play, The Iceman Cometh. The Iceman had come.
All over Veronica. I bemoaned the lack of action in this thing, so now that there is a little bit, it's only fair that I include some. Swiftly calculating force and angles, Superman grabbed the bottom of the shuttle with 2 hands. Using super strength, trademark, he shoved the shuttle, sending it flying faster and higher. Just like sailing a paper airplane, Superman thought.
Playfully, while a plane full of terrified people plummeted to Earth behind him. Zoinks! Said Superman.
Well, he was still a bit bitter about Lois. I think he was taking his time. And people are thrilled that Superman's back and that he saved the plane. But let's instead focus on the real core of this story, which is Superman's seething jealousy.
Clark blinked as a handsome, brown-haired man rushed through the door of Perry's office and swept Lois into a fierce hug. Clark frowned. It was the man from the photograph on Lois's desk.
Uh-oh.
So do you think, Clark used this opportunity to sneak a peek at what Richard was packing?
I think, normally I would say no. That's an immature thing to say. But considering the behaviour of this Superman so far, which has been, rummaging through the contents of a lady's desk, which I wouldn't do. I would say...
An underwear drawer, possibly, not her desk.
I'd say he's way out of line.
Yeah, you'd have to think that gym change room urinal temptation that us men sometimes have would be with you 24/7 with those x-ray peepers.
I don't know. Don't you reckon, at first you'd be
just checking everything out,
and then you'd be like, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm I really need...
Yeah, it would ruin the illusion.
Yeah, you'd be like, I've got x-ray vision, everyone, so if you want to go home and do some maintenance or something
even when
like
they're
that...
at home, you'd still see them through their doors and houses. You'd have to tell everyone to get a lead-lined house.
And also, her floppy-haired, bespectacled bastard son is here too, and he has asthma.
Our disabilities do not define us, hate monger.
No, look, I had it as a youth. What I
love...
love...
Where'd it go?
I just grew out of it.
What? I grew into it.
I
Did you give me
grew out of it.
your fucking asthma?
I think I gave you my asthma.
Son of a bitch.
Don't you love how Americans say asthma? It's
That was a thing.
Yeah, they say asthma.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where you can just see their brain looking at an S, a T, and an H, and an M together, and their brains just go...
Aslan had a queen in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Just throw in a Z. 4 letters I don't understand. Let's throw in one reliable letter that we don't use very much.
Like aluminum.
Asthma. And do you think Clark would have dark, secret thoughts about just microwaving this kid's insides?
Does your girlfriend know about your pathological hatred for children?
No, I'm looking at his past, what this child represents.
That's an abortion comment, and now you want to abort him now.
Well, this child is sort of...
The kid's not pregnant. Why are you microwaving his insides for?
For Clark, I feel like this is a sign of... This kid is an embodiment of betrayal.
Well, this is a sign of restraint.
Impotence.
This is probably the only positive characteristics that Clark actually shows, restraining himself in this one instance.
He's been cuckolded by James Marsden, who's walking on Milo Tin stilts throughout this film because he's 3 feet tall.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
In X-Men, seriously, they made
my height, isn't she?
They made rails.
Yeah.
He was walking around on rails, so his movements.
So he doesn't
would
just
be
look like Tom
past-
Cruise. He literally
He's
is
tiny.
Tom Cruise.
Anyway, as you said before, it turns out Lex and his gang had faked the Krypton distress signal to make Superman disappear. And according to the book, this meant they basically had to get chummy with a bunch of science magazines so that the science magazines would believe them.
Probably happy to have friends.
And publish the story. So it wasn't misinformation coming from them. It was misinformation that went through Lex into scientists, and then the scientists published.
Well, in the movie, I heard the explanation for this. They mentioned this about 1 million times that Lex had a hand in providing this misinformation, but apparently Cal Penn's character, who I think says one line in the fucking movie, he had about 20 to 30 lines before they were cut out. So he was supposed to have a much larger role. He was a disgraced science reporter for the Daily Planet, and he was bribed by Luthor into planting the evidence about Krypton's existence into the newspaper. So that kind of explains why he's able to do sciencey stuff.
Yeah, and the book mentions a couple of science publications that this thing appeared in.
Yeah, so I don't know why they didn't put any of this explanatory material into the film, when it's already languidly paced to the point where you can see a Scrabble game, you can see 10 more minutes of Superman creepily stalking Lois.
Yes.
I'm always around, Lois. Have the lambs stopped screaming, Lois? Chianti, Lois. I won't read the last one.
Well, that wasn't technically Hopkins, was it? That was one of his cellmates.
Yeah.
And she's a smoker too, so yeah. Lex then finds out through a newspaper. Who says print is dead? Everybody's getting all their info from newspapers in this.
Well, apparently the internet is not yet born because it does not receive a mention. And there is a fax machine, famously.
Yes, it's coming up. The Metropolis Museum is hosting the world's largest collection of meteorites. But look, let's just focus instead on what this book is best at.
The Yorkie dodged aside, sniffed the paper, then lifted his leg and peed on it.
Yep. Dogs doing their stuff.
So DC Universe, everybody. DC standing for dog cocks, damp canines, duties and caca.
Yeah, I think so.
Dogs can't ... hold their bladders.
And look, okay, I think we've got enough information now because we know that Luthor's going to go and steal the meteorite in order to get some kryptonite, right? So let's think about this.
Well, I mean, he did it in Superman 1, so why wouldn't he do it again?
He sends Superman away for 5 years. It's a shame, like, with his scheduling, that the bulk of his plan then happens immediately after Superman comes back. You'd think, like, organize. You've got a 5-year window here.
But a major part of his plan is actually to
kill Superman
at that time. So that timing probably isn't.
Didn't happen.
Accident.
So now he has to go and get this kryptonite.
A major part of Superman, and I might be preempting what I'm about to discuss later on, but a major part of Superman actually going away for 5 years was that Luthor would get out of jail. Because Luthor had his trial at that time, and Superman didn't turn up for the actual trial, which meant that it was a mistrial, and Luthor got off. Because truth, justice, and the American way doesn't extend to knowing anything about the American justice system.
But he needs the yacht right to go to the Arctic to get the Master Crystal.
Yeah, all that time he spends fucking the old lady.
All that
he
time.
He just bought a goddamn boat ticket or something.
Everything with the lady. This whole, like, fucking this old lady, like, being her sex slave.
I mean, at the time that they are filming this...
Fooling her family by pretending to be someone else in
Australia
a wig.
did regular flights via Qantas to Antarctica. You could have just taken one of those fucking flights.
So not only that, not only did he sleep with this woman in order to get the yacht.
Oh, there wasn't much sleeping going on.
He did it all.
Sure, her pleasure she'd never known.
And he deceived her family, basically, in order to legally own this yacht.
Yeah, because he just leaves the house behind.
What's he going to do to get this meteorite? He's not going to legally own it. He's just going to bust in with his goons and shoot the place up and steal it. Couldn't you have done that with the yacht as well? Crazy shit.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to steal the yacht from fucking America. He could have stolen it from, like, another country and, like, sailed it to America.
This film makes zero sense.
Pretty much.
Anyway, now the cause of much fan angst. Superman stalks Lois in her home. She doesn't invite him round. He flies over there. Basically, he is the Google Maps because there's no internet at this stage.
Yeah, well, he has that bird's eye Earth view.
Yep.
Down.
Finds her home and goes and has a peek while she and her family are in it.
I know, it's not really the Superman we knew as children, is it?
No.
These two are like the greatest love story of our time. Terry Hatcher, Dean Cain. I'm very disappointed in Lois not becoming a nun, quite frankly, once Superman left.
Disappointed she didn't just plaster her body up.
Well, how is that? Like, this is Superman. Like, no man on Earth could possibly compare to Superman.
Yeah.
He is the pinnacle.
I think
he's the Ubermensch.
Bosworth is a pretty shitty Lois Lane as well. I like Terry Hatcher's look for it. She was very sexy back in that 90s sort of time.
Well, we've gone from Margot Kidder, who was obviously a more mature lady, to a woman who looks younger than Superman.
Yeah, I mean, Margot Kidder has a sort of huskiness that makes Carrie Fisher look like Audrey Hepburn. Crazy.
It's a step backwards.
He spotted the seaplane at the dock, the kind he knew Richard flew. There was a swing set on the back lawn. With X-ray vision, Superman looked inside the house. So he's watching these people go through their routines. And I've got to say, like, surely if you're attracted to somebody, like if you love someone, that's got to be the easiest way to put you off that person.
Yeah, but she's not
privacy is a really good thing, you know? Like, she's going to do things in the privacy of her own home, which isn't going to make her more attractive to him, I'm sure.
That excerpt was, like, the most perfect line in this book. It's like, it's almost a haiku. A seaplane is docked. Swing set sits on the back lawn. Creepy Superman. I could try it as a limerick.
Yeah, yep.
There was a docked seaplane in view, the kind that Richard guy flew. And on the back lawn, a set to swing on. Plus a Superman was up there too.
Love it.
What if Superman was doing a poo? That was my alternative.
If he doesn't have a dick, I don't think he's doing shits.
That's accurate. That's probably why I didn't go with that one as my number one choice. But yeah, like, yes, that would be creepy. But he's fucking Superman. How's she gonna know? He's like out of her human earshot. He's out of her human.
But it's creepy
eyesight.
for him too. Like, why
It's
would
creepy
you?
for all of us.
Why would you want to watch
Superman has
someone
let
that doesn't
everybody down.
know you're there?
This is not the American way. I'm assuming.
I shouldn't be doing this. You know?
Would that thought cross his mind that he shouldn't be doing this?
Well,
He's
this
doing it
Superman,
already.
I don't know.
I know, this Superman is unfathomable.
He is a bad.
And anyway, like, even if she
Dude.
does find out, like, as we know from Superman 2, which is now canon, apparently he has the superpower to kiss her memory away.
He's a gross dude.
He is. He's the grossest. And he can fucking turn back time, as we know from Superman 1.
Yeah, which made me think, like, if this is a sort of indirect sequel, why doesn't he just fly around the Earth for 5 years backwards
Yeah.
and start again?
He could do it.
Because that
He's
trip
fucking
was wasted.
Superman.
And then the, like, science magazines will be
Yeah,
like,
Richard would never appear on the scene.
Krypton, it's been. And he'd go, that's the lie. And they'd go, oh, dang. And that'd be it. And yeah, this sequel thing's kind of referenced here because Richard Marsden references her I spent the night with Superman article from long ago. So how does this fit in?
Yeah, it follows on from 1 and 2, and 2 being the Donna cut, not the Richard Lister or whatever his name was, slapstick version. And yeah, it cuts out 3 and 4, which I think we can all agree are the red-headed stepchilds of the franchise.
No Richard Pryor in this continuity?
Yeah, unfortunately, the computer genius Richard Pryor, who discovers his computer genius powers when he goes to, like, their equivalent of Centrelink. But yeah, it also leads to an interesting conundrum from that kiss that I just mentioned, which I might come back to, so as not to spoil the surprise. But if you've heard any Kevin Smith stuff before, you probably already know about it. But yeah, basically, Superman Returns is the Force Awakens of the franchise.
Careful now.
And that basically rehashes a bunch of key aspects of the plot of number 1. So, firstly, Lex has supervillain schemes revolving around land and natural disasters that increase the value of said land. He has goofball henchmen again. Kitty Kowalski is basically Eve Teskmaka from 1 and 2. Both characters are supposed to be Lex's love interests, but they certainly don't help with any of his schemes. Both of them are rescued from staged car accidents, which really serve to be villainous distractions.
And also are about that famous Action Comics #1 cover. Referencing that.
Yes. There's that romantic Superman Lois night flight again. Lex has a very impressive wig collection once more. Superman once again nearly drowns after kryptonite exposure and is then saved by a woman. The kryptonite is again from a meteor in Addis Ababa. And of course, as the scene we're about to get to, Superman is once again shot with a machine gun.
Oh, isn't that the same for any franchise films, though? Don't, like, all the Jurassic Parks share the same DNA? All the Home Alones?
Do they?
I think so.
I think I've only seen the first 2 Home Alones.
Well, you're missing out. So,
When did Kevin get replaced?
he
When did it
was only
become
in the
the other
first
kid?
2.
Okay, well there you go. See, I'm a Kevin originalist.
You're a purist. So, Superman decides to help society again. How would the best way to do this be? It would be stopping a bank robbery, because what needs more help than the assets of rich insured people?
Superman is the 1%.
Superman dropped to the roof between the gunman and the guards. Bullet bounced off the shield on his chest and fell to the rooftop.
Oh, fell to the rooftop. See, that's
Yeah.
different from the movie. It was like Superman continues to be some kind of weird asshole in the movie. In addition to attempting to cuckold Richard and creeping on Lois from afar, he ignores all those natural disasters he saw on TV and he protects a bunch of money and, you know, these 2 security guards are about to die. But in doing so, he makes no attempt to stop these ricocheting bullets from going every which way. So in saving those 2 jerks behind him, how many other jerks end up as collateral damage? We see that helicopter gets shredded with bullets.
A couple of pigeons.
Yeah, probably some pigeons. Oh, he's night, so it's probably
And
owls.
he gets shot in the eye in the film. Like, right in the eyeball.
Sure does. I don't know. I have this phobia. I was looking for it online today, actually, if it actually has a name. But I have this phobia of things like going near my eyes. When I used to do theatre and people would put mascara on me, it was fucking excruciating. I don't know how you ladies do it. I can barely handle eye drops.
Tell us, ladies. Tell us on the forums. We need to know. And then he stops a runaway car only to find out that the driver is
Kitty Kowalski stepped out of the car. Her black dress fitted like it had been spray painted on her body.
Hubba, hubba, I would park in her posy.
And I would pose in her parka.
I don't think it would fit me.
Yeah, probably not me either. She's, I think we can all agree that Parker Posey is no Valerie Perrine from the first, from 1 and 2.
But she's an indie darling, though.
Yeah, but Valerie Perrine, man, still my childhood erection.
Still my tiny, tiny childhood
Hey, that's
erection.
presumptuous, alright? You don't know.
Superman quickly scanned her body with X-ray vision. I don't see anything wrong. He tried to reassure her.
She was right, he thought to himself, in all the wrong places. Bow chicka wow wow.
And as things heat up, we have the photo section, which is basically Brandon Routh, underpants model, all with the same facial expression. Doesn't show a lot of charisma in these photos, at least.
He has such a weird, unnatural body. He looks like he's wearing a muscle suit. But apparently, like, he put on 20 pounds or something, whatever pounds is. 5 kilos or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got this weird, super long torso.
And look there, and Perry White is Frank Langella, Skeletor.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, Lex steals
Prior to his Oscar nomination, too.
kryptonite from the museum, and there is some really solid action right in here.
Several guards came running. As they rushed past, Grant and Brutus, Luther's henchmen, knocked the guards unconscious as if you've forgotten. I mean, they've been introduced, haven't they?
Yeah.
Knocked the guards unconscious with karate chops to the backs of their necks.
I am breathless. I would totally see a movie, though, called The Karate Chop Heist.
I would prefer the Karate Chop Bandits, starring Nicole Kidman and Jackie Chan, reintroducing Ralph Macchio as bystander number 2.
I think it'd be great. Like, every time they're like, okay, we need rope, and there's like, the guy's like, nope, we'll solve it with karate chops. We should organise a helicopter.
The movie about the UN.
We'll use karate chops.
We need diplomacy. No, karate chops!
And I was thinking, like, surely it's Superman's MO to stop crimes like meteorite theft. And it turns out it is, but the kitty was a distraction so that he couldn't, because he would have been all over that. So Lex did think of everything. He's genius.
He really certainly is focused on property crime in this version of his character, not natural disasters or anything. So it's like banks and museums and his own property in Lois Lane.
Not poverty, or he's just about keeping that 1% a little bit richer.
That's the Superman we all remember, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't save a kitten in a tree or anything. Has that kitten got $1 million? Then fuck that kitten.
Oh, that's my favourite bit in Superman, where, isn't that what happens? Like, he saves the kitten from the tree, and in the first Superman movie, and then the little girl goes inside and goes like, Mom, I just saw Superman. And she goes, don't lie! And you hear a big smack. She like basically hits it so head
So
spins
saves the
around.
kitten,
Yeah.
but he doesn't save the child
No.
from domestic abuse.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a different time.
So we have pages of office reporter stuff. Basically, Perry wants more Superman stories. Jimmy's supposed to get a picture of him. Lois would rather cover that blackout that happened because of Lexus Crystal. Richard is being smarmy. And Lois's bastard Jason is being, well...
Clang! Clock turned. Jason, wearing a trash can on his head, had just careened into a metal desk. Rawr! Rawr! He roared like a giant monster and kept on going. Clang! He slammed into another desk.
All those unmade Brainiac and Doomsday treatments, and we've got a kid with a garbage can on his head.
On the trend of the novel so far, we're lucky he didn't urinate in the corner.
That's true.
I don't know, did you want to discuss any of these other treatments?
I don't know. I think it's actually quite a lot. I did read through them all. I think it's an interesting topic. I think we're probably running a little bit long.
A little bit long, yeah.
But they all sort of focused around...
But the J.J. Abrams one is nuts, man.
Yeah, we'll say about that. That's topical.
Alright, so there was obviously the Kevin Smith one, which was going to be the Tim Burton movie and stuff, and that fell through. But J.J. Abrams then came on board. It was going to be a movie by McGee, apparently, and Ratner, I think, was involved as well. But yeah, Abrams' story reimagined Superman as a Kryptonian prince sent to Earth as a baby to avoid an impending civil war between King Jor-El and his brother Katazor. So he was raised as a Midwestern teen Clark Kent, fell in love with his high school sweetheart, Lois. Come on, man, that's conflating Lana Lang and Lois. That's not cool. Superman became humanity's defender when Katazor invades Earth. Sounds a bit like Man of Steel. Aided by CIA agent Lex Luthor, who is actually a Kryptonian in disguise.
Oh, hell no.
The film ends with Superman returning to Krypton to rule over his people after the death of Jor-El. So that was the script that was actually attached to this project when Singer turned up.
And Singer said, this isn't faithful enough, we need to change it. But then he made it very faithful to the movies that he'd already
rather
watched.
than the comics?
Yeah.
It's like, so basically, he was a fan in as much as he liked the first two movies.
And let's read the list of all the actors that could have been Supes.
Go one after the other.
Nicolas Cage.
Will Smith, who declined due to race implications.
Said something like, white people get angry when you mess with their heroes.
Yep.
Christian Bale.
Ben Affleck.
Tom Welling.
Josh Hartnett.
Jude Law.
Paul Walker.
Brendan Fraser.
David Boreanaz.
Ashton Kutcher. It's getting like a bit bargain basement as we
James
go on.
Marsden. That's Joel Edgerton.
Joel Edgerton. Yeah, that's weird. Edjo.
But
Fucking little potato. Little
he was up
spuddy
for
Superman.
But he apparently then wanted to be Katazor. He wanted to be the bad guy. The next one's your favourite, I reckon.
Hayden Christensen.
And Jerry O'Connell.
And what about who George Miller actually cast as Superman in the Justice League that never happened?
I forget. Who was that?
DJ Cortona?
Don't know. I remember Megan Gale was cast.
I'm pretty sure it's like DJ Cortona. Something like that. Anyway, he looks cool. Like, you look at a picture of him and you go, yeah, that works. Rah! Jason said, trotting out the door behind them. Burritos!
Jason was fond of non sequiturs. Chlamydia, he shouted.
That's one messed up kid. Superman continues to stalk Lois. She can't even go up on the roof or sneak a quick durry without him hovering down and telling her smoking is bad for her.
Yeah, Superman Returns, brought to you by the people behind plain packaging on cigarettes.
They wanted to put people off. They should have just put stills from the movie on cigarettes.
They should have just had that hologram of the old woman being pleasured by Lex. No one would fucking touch a cigarette.
And he pretends he wants to give her an exclusive interview, but it's really just to push his own drama agenda of hassling her about, casting shade on him.
It's so
in
weird,
that article
man.
she wrote. What a creeper.
Like, you'd think at some point maybe he could just talk to her about where he's been, why he went there, given that he didn't even fucking tell her that he was going. This is all this cat and mouse shit. It's like 50 Shades of Superman Returns.
And also, this is a classic book was better thing to talk about. Always wonder when one of these buggers is going to pop up in a book. What do real superheroes eat to keep their physique?
Jimmy dangled a Fat Boy burger bag before Clark's nose. Hey Clark, got your burger and fries right here.
Oh, America, at
Turn
least.
him into Kermit.
It's very consistent. Very consistent country.
Yeah, there's a Super Size Me joke in there somewhere.
One type of food.
Not gonna tell.
And then Superman, he takes a wistful trip to the Fortress of Solitude. He stared at the main console, the Master Crystal, which had travelled with him to Earth as an infant and which contained the essence of his mother and father, and all the arcane
That sounds
knowledge
gross.
and power of Kryptonian science was gone. Well, perhaps that'll help you remember to lock the front door next time.
Yeah, it's not like he didn't have security concerns in the second film. Like Zod, Ursa, and the fucking other guy, and even more importantly, Lex, they all turned up in the Fortress of Solitude in that film too. Like, Ursa's probably still dicking around in this somewhere because fucking Lois knocked her off the edge of the platform into a pit somewhere. Well, she might even be dead, but that's still going to attract polar bears in there to eat her corpse.
Yeah,
so, like, you
love
could have at least nailed a few boards over the fucking entrance.
No girls allowed. Keep out just anything.
Only Supermans. But yeah, like, he's gone on a 5-year vacation and he's left his precious Master Crystal behind. It's like he wants to fail.
And all his plants are dead.
Yeah, totally. Well, they are in Antarctica, so they probably were dead to begin with.
He's got plantariums things.
I don't know if that's not established as canon in these ones.
And it's the night of Lois getting her award. But first, she does some riveting action chores.
Lois pulled the station wagon to the curb in front of Jason's exclusive full-day school.
Wasn't like one of those everyone can go to half-day school, that's for sure.
Ooh, la-di-da, it has curbs, everybody, curbs. It's so exclusive.
Full-day school? Man, we go to half-hour school. And this is some really stupid shit right here. Again, this is where the planning abilities of the characters just fucking all over the shop. She picks up a child from school, then takes him to the house she suspects caused the blackout.
Disturbed me watching the movie.
And then she takes him onto Lex's yacht, which then sails away, and she's quickly captured.
But she's also supposed to be going to, like, her fucking awards presentation or whatever, isn't she?
Yeah, so who would do that? And she was late to pick him up as well. So no wonder this kid runs around with a trash can on his head.
Just like, she's totally into child endangerment. Like, later on, spoilers again, she drags him into a storm so she can go back and look for her precious Superman. And was that award for Mother of the Year?
And she smokes. We mentioned that too.
Yeah. And she's cheating on at least one person.
And this could work out quite nicely for Lex, though, yeah.
It's been a while since you were a headline, Lex. She pulled Jason toward her. How about we turn the boat around, call a cab for my son, and then you can do whatever you want with me.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's like, take my son back home. If you want him to watch, it's extra.
I wonder if you could use this, like, in the other way around. Like, because there are some very attractive mothers out there. You couldn't be like, how about we get the kid a taxi and send him off on his way, and then you can do whatever you want to me. Like, it's a pretty weird proposal.
It's rather strange.
Okay, so
Turning
look,
over the kid in the first place.
I
is
was
kind of
going to
strange.
write out how the book describes Lex's plan, but it's really just dialogue. And then I thought, look, you explain it. You explain what Lex is essentially going to do here. We know he's got a crystal, a master crystal. He's got some kryptonite. He's got a yacht.
Well, even the first movie's crummy plan makes more sense than this fucking crummy plan.
He banged an old lady. What's it all for?
Well, like, it's basically a rip-off of the first movie, but it's worse than the plan in the first movie. So the plan in Superman 1 was to buy desert land, like, at low prices. And then,
I know what a desert is.
do you know what the prices of a desert are?
I imagine they're pretty cheap.
Well, no. Now we're on the same page.
Yep.
So then he plans to blow up the San Andreas fault, at which point that desert land that he now owns would be prime beachside real estate.
Yes, because suddenly there's water there.
He is very focused on real estate.
And we know how beautiful the beaches are in America.
In America.
In America.
Especially when they're fucking irradiated. I mean,
Yeah.
this plan can't fail. But yeah, so now in this movie, he has these crystals from the Fortress of Solitude, which when added to water become land.
Yeah, like sea monkeys.
Yeah, basically. And not just any land, it's like crazy crystal Kryptonian land, which is like all unstable and jagged and unsafe and shit. So he's going to wrap this crystal sausage in a kryptonite bun and then throw it into the sea. Because as he explains, rather homeopathically, crystal takes on the properties of other stones near them as they begin to grow, or something.
You're right, though, that it is a really shitty, ugly, barren landscape. Like, it's not friendly. It'd be hard to grow. Like, if you like gardening or whatever, I don't know why you would buy into this.
Yeah, well, it's like, it's structural material rather than actually land. So, like, there's no way you could grow or actually have crops or anything on this land. It's a very strange plan. And he really explains all this through the use of some professionally designed pull-down charts, which, who the fuck made these charts for him?
Stanford, he's the brains.
It seems like they've commissioned a cartographer or a graphic design artist because they actually literally fit into that pull-down bit where the map
You
goes.
saw the model city he made to demonstrate the...
Did he make that, or was that already in the basement? Was it the old lady's? Was that what she was paying him in, model trains for her pleasures?
I think it's his MO to make that stuff.
So he basically should just be a model maker.
I think he should be a model maker if
He
this
missed his calling.
if this doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah, so basically he's made a series of maps that clearly detail his plans for genocidal mass murder, which seems like a pretty crummy supervillain.
Yeah, this
technique.
floating around in the cloud.
So yeah, he has these pull-down charts. The charts show that he plans to create a new continent, which will displace most of North America, which Kitty, surprisingly, not surprisingly, she's not down with this shit, because, you know, all her stuff is there, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, he somehow wants to lead people into demand for this new land that he has created from the crystals and get his cut somehow. But, firstly, he's killing off his customer base by destroying North America.
Yeah, they're going to be pissed about that.
Secondly, wouldn't a better plan be threatening to sink North America and then being paid to not do that? Like the way supervillains usually do shit,
Yeah.
as Dr. Evil has taught us?
Yep.
Thirdly, as you were saying, it's green jagged rocks in the middle of nowhere. There's no infrastructure. There's no ability to grow produce. There's no ecology. Like, who does he think he's going to want to invest in it? And, like, fourth, and most importantly, he's got, like, 3 fucking henchmen. If people did want this land, how the fuck is he going to stop them from taking it over? He's just destabilized the global balance of power by taking out the #1 military power in the world. Like, his kryptonite plan is designed only to work on fucking Superman. How is he going to stop Vladimir Putin from, like, sailing in and just taking this goddamn land from him?
I don't know how he's going to stop, like, some redneck hillbillies in a pickup with some assault rifles.
Yeah, someone from the bayou on, like, one of those propeller fucking hovercrafts.
There's probably a lot of people out there that feel that they could comfortably beat up Kevin Spacey. Yeah.
Well, his plan, involves depowering Superman and beating the shit out of Superman. And that's one person.
He spends pages
This is a world that Batman exists in. How the fuck is he going to stop Batman?
Very difficult. He tells Lois his whole plan, shows her the kryptonite shiv that he's got hidden away, explains how he faked the distress signal yet again, and he plays piano with that bastard son, Jason.
Bored, Jason wandered over to the piano and began to pick out Heart and Soul. Next, Jason began to take requests. Play Freebird!
Piano Man. Lois paced the main gallery. She had to warn someone. There had to be a way. The fax machine, she realised. I can send a fax. I mean, really, the world before smartphones was a dangerous place.
Oh, again, it's so stupid, this movie. Like, if you've ever used a fax machine, you know that fucking god-awful racket that they make. It's like got to be the least effective surreptitious strategy of all time.
Well, the book explains the storm was drowning it out.
Oh,
she
really?
Was very carefully.
That clearly wasn't happening in the movie. You could only hear the kid playing the
fax
piano.
machine. Luther sticks his rocket in a canyon. In his mind's eye, Luther saw a sea of bubbles and huge cracks began to form along the seafloor, spreading outward. The cracks would turn into chasms as the sea above them lurched and roiled. Then deep within the ocean, Luther spotted an eerie glow as columns of crystals began to rise.
I've been pretty on board with Simo's writing up until now. I had big problems with Vinge previously, but in his mind's eye, or his actual eye, he's fucking looking at it. Like, is he imagining the bubbles, or is he actually seeing them?
No, he's not. He's imagining the huge cracks, for the bubbles of the cracks on the sea floor. So this is a weird thing, because she's an omniscient narrator. So she could just describe what was happening on the sea floor, but instead she wants to go through the Lexus point of view, so he has to imagine what's going on the seafloor. It's sloppy.
It's sloppy. I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I'm going to fax a letter, a very firmly worded letter. So Lois has finally managed to fax her coordinates, so Richard heads there in his precious seaplane. I'm sick of hearing about this seaplane. While Clark...
He forced open a door and leapt into the elevator shaft. Hovering in midair, he ripped his business clothes off, revealing the red and blue Superman suit beneath.
Do you reckon the issue ever arises where people, especially in the workplace, keep finding Clark's torn, discarded clothes?
I had the same thought. Like, you watch it in the movie, like, he doesn't even fucking close the hatch to the elevator shaft as he flies away, and, like, his civilian clothes, like, dropping down behind him. So presumably they've just drifted onto the floor of the elevator. So the next people that come in, they're going to find his clothes there. And, like, everyone's seen him come to work wearing those clothes today. And he seems like the kind of tool whose ma has, like, sewed his name into his fucking labels.
They're like, those are definitely Clark's pants.
Yeah. He's going to have a very interesting meeting with HR this week.
I think so.
Clark, you've been leaving your clothes behind a lot of places.
And then back on the boat. This is an interesting diversion.
As Brutus raised the stick again, the ship rolled nearly sideways. Behind him, the bolts that held the piano to the floor ripped loose. The massive instrument skidded across the floor and slammed into Brutus. Man and piano crashed against the gallery wall.
Now, when I rewatched the film, I didn't get this far, so I need you to clarify this for me. But my recollection is that the child suddenly manifests superpowers for the first time and shoves the piano with super strength and kills the guy.
Yeah, he certainly does. And everyone's just like, well, if you didn't want to be murdered, why do you get that creepy fucking tattoo?
He's got like a Gacy clown tattoo? Yeah.
I always used to wonder whether like it was referencing anything from the comics, but being a pretty much a comic nerd myself. I have never seen it. It's like in the comics. It is basically just a creepy John Wayne Gacy-esque clown tattoo, which I guess, subconsciously is supposed to make his death more justifiable to us. Like, with a tattoo like that, he's obviously just a bad dude. So cool. He's dead now. Don't feel bad about it. Whatever.
And there's a bigger reason for this as well, this scene.
Of course, as opposed to Simo's book, and apparently, the adult version, Marv Wolfman's as well, it's the same thing. I guess they were working from an earlier version of the script before Singer had decided he was going to go in this direction. But, yeah, it's supposed to demonstrate that Jason is totally and obviously Superman's boy, which I have issues with.
Yeah,
I also have issues
it raises a question, which we'll get to in a tick.
But, I mean, now, his name, Jason, there have been so many fucking Christ illusions up to this point, specifically in the movie, the way Superman's always floating with his arms out, like he's
stretched.
The modern Christ. And this kid is called Jason, Jesus' son. It's a little bit heavy-handed, isn't it?
On the nose.
Yeah.
I need your help, Superman said to Perry. Call the radio stations. Ask them to tell people to find shelter away from buildings. Again, the world before Twitter, a dangerous place.
That's what I said. Publish it in a newspaper, Perry. Tomorrow, maybe they'll get the message. Up and away!
It's 2 p.m. on a workday. Everyone will be listening to the radio right now.
Call the fucking TV station, maybe. Jesus, Superman. 5 years. It's been 5 years. That's not a long time.
Lois and her bastard son begin drowning in the abandoned sinking yacht, and she's thinking good and hard about her parenting technique. She at least admits at this point in the book that it was very dumb to bring her child along. But then she's saved by Richard. But no, he bungles it, and he ends up trapped in there with him.
We can't last long, he thought. At least they had the flashlight. Somehow that made waiting to die more bearable.
Yes, he would be able to see the contorted pain on his loved ones' faces as they left this world.
This is a hilarious line. They can tell ghost stories. They can make shadow puppets on the wall.
He's assuming, he's got bigger lungs. They'll die first. He wants to see the whole thing.
Yeah, he can attract ocean predators.
But don't worry, Superman saves them and confronts
Lucky he had that torch.
Lex on the new island. But
as Superman tried to step past him towards the new fortress, Luthor slammed him in the mouth. Superman fell to the ground. He touched his lip. It was bleeding. What was happening to him?
Gingivitis? No, it was kryptonite. And then Stone Cold Luthor shivs him. I always thought this was stone fucking cold in the film.
I always thought it was a surrogate penis.
Luthor reached into his pocket and pulled out the knife-sharp sliver of kryptonite that Stanford had chipped from the meteorite mere days ago. He raised it high and then plunged it into Superman's back.
Luthor has always wanted to penetrate Superman.
Superman screamed as kryptonite radiation burned through his body, and Luthor stepped back to watch him die.
I love that too. It's like a Johnny Cash song. I stabbed the man from Krypton just to watch him die. When I hear that seaplane coming, I hang my head and cry.
Speaking of that fucking seaplane, it does arrive. It saves Superman. He heals in Earth's yellow sun, and then he goes under the ocean and he lifts the island.
Under the ocean and under the Earth's crust.
Up out of the water. She could see that Superman had tried to use normal rock as a shield to protect him from the kryptonite, but it wasn't working. Except it does work. And he hurls the big kryptonite island into the sun.
Fucking dumb is this? It's a chunk of rock and it's miles across and it doesn't just snap or crumble in his fucking hands. Like tensile strength, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this movie...
And all the while he's got Luthor's surrogate kryptonite penis embedded in him. And the kryptonite is like poking through the rock all around him. Like he was standing on the surface of this thing with no kryptonite visible except in little seams, and he was a total wuss. Now he's carrying this island into space and there's one's poking in his fucking mouth and he's not affected. It's
I know he got a stomach.
Oh no, he's got a bit of stomach hurt.
Stomach
and there's
ache.
some sweats. Yeah.
I still think it's the burritos, but who knows? Yeah, I agree. I think the science in this movie is surprisingly poor.
It's malleable, basically.
And he falls back to Earth, and they say they'll take him to hospital, but thankfully we're spared that scene. But I do remember, in the movie, he goes to hospital,
yeah,
right?
Not the movie, bro. You think it's all over at this point, and it drags on for another 20, 25 minutes.
Because it should be.
Should be the end. There's like humorous needle hijinks a la Power Man from aka Jessica Jones, and Richard consents to letting Lois and the child go to see comatose Superman.
The only time anyone's consented to anything involving Superman in this book.
So she takes a little bundle of bastard with her, and she whispers some shit in his ear about how he isn't alone, which is a reference back to that Jor-El speech from the start when they changed the beginnings to the less exciting one. So, yeah, she's basically saying that there's another Kryptonian around now in Jason. And then Superman wakes up, and he checks himself out of the hospital under his own recognizance, and then there's even more Superman creepiness with a little bit of breaking and entering thrown in for good measure. And he repeats Jor-El's words as the father's to son's speech, and then he macks on Lois a little bit more. I'm always around, Lois.
Yeah, because doesn't in the film he stands in Jason's bedroom and talks to him?
Yes, that's the breaking and entering.
Yeah. Which
so he basically just says, so at the start, so they replaced that start of him going to the planet and seeing the Krypton and getting a hurty stomach and stuff, and they replaced that with Jor-El's words, where Jor-El gave the speech about fathers and sons. So now he's at the kid's bedside giving him the same speech, which is sons become fathers, fathers become sons, something like that.
And this book does not mention that at all. As far as this book is concerned, Jason is Marsden, Richard's son, and Superman has nothing to do with it.
It's a detail that Singer decided on late into filming or something.
It's a weird detail. It's not the kind of baggage that I think Superman needs.
Well, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Because how could Superman impregnate Lois? Alright, to get scientific for a second.
I was just going to say, I am interested that the adult novel doesn't have it either, because my theory, this being a junior novel, is that...
I don't want to mention sex stuff.
Well, the kid's going to go, just as the audience member goes...
That pleasures line from the old lady.
How is Superman the father? And then the parent's going to go, well, I guess that
Where did
at
that come from?
some
Superman
point
edition.
They must have...
When a Superman and a lady love each other very much.
But you don't think it's possible in the first place?
Well, no. He's the result of parallel evolution on Krypton. So he's a humanoid rather than a human. So, you think about marsupials in Australia or the birds of New Zealand. These species rise up and they fill these ecological niches in the environment. So you have your apex predators and you have your meal animals and all the rest of that kind of shit.
I think he filled Lois's niche.
Yeah, well, apparently that's in dispute. So, he is a Kryptonian. Does he even have a peen? You already know that I don't think that he does. His bit's compatible with our bits. A Kiwi from New Zealand can fuck a kangaroo from Australia, but you're not going to get a Kiwi-roo out of it.
Well, that's disappointing.
It's a shame, but, And, what are the Kryptonian laws on interspecies procreation? I guess there's no one left on Krypton to dispute this, but, it's kind of a form of bestiality, isn't it?
I think the law is written is if it feels good.
Oh, those Kryptonians. And, if and when they did fuck, how could Superman physically stop himself from tearing Lois apart like she is wet tissue paper? Because maybe I'm not doing it right, but there's a lot of unconscious clenching and unclenching during the sexy times.
I think...
and I'm sure Superman blew her insides into a pink mist when he ejaculated.
No, I think a true sexsmith can be very gentle, very controlled, and... Well, he's not ripping off doorknobs all the time and doing stuff
make love like an R&B song.
Easy. I'm just saying,
yeah, but that's when he's controlling himself. Sex, you don't control yourself, man. It's spasms. It's all about the spasms.
I reckon if you're good, you can control. You can control it.
So, listeners, you are now hearing that Luke is good and I am not.
No, I'm just saying. Look, I'm just a little
humble brag.
Look, you're a wild man. That's fine. That's fine. Everybody's got their own technique. But I think Superman can, because that's the thing. If someone said to you, if I said to you, would you like the gift? Let's say I'm a genie. No,
are we still talking about the same thing?
No, look, I'm a magic superpower genie. If I said to you,
dial 000,
would you like super strength? Do you want that as a power? No, exactly. But wouldn't a lot of people say yeah?
Some might.
But that would be like saying, if I said to you, would you like everything in the world to be really fragile? That's the same thing. It's just worded differently. And a lot of people would say no to the fragile thing. But yeah, so that's why I think he has to control it. Because otherwise he would just... he doesn't...
But that's it. So he should probably never have sex at all. Because he wouldn't be able to control himself during sex.
No, but that would be
Have you read Garth Ennis and Amanda Connor's The Pro?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so when she gives the blowjob to the Superman surrogate in that, and he ejaculates, and he shoots out a wad that shoots the wing off a plane.
Yeah.
Because obviously he is generally in control until she makes him lose control.
Yeah, but he's not like a 14-year-old.
What?
I'm just saying, like, he should...
Superman surrogate in the Pro wasn't a 14-year-old.
No, but I'm saying, like, he should have a little bit more control than that.
Alright, well, I mean, there's theories on that. Like, would he wear a kryptonite condom? Would she wear, like, a kryptonite girdle or a diaphragm or something? But, you know, as they said in Mallrats, wouldn't that kill him? They call it the little death. This might be more than
I reckon, like, I look at Kevin Smith, I think this is a man with no control.
Kevin Smith?
Yeah, he's got no control, so that's his theory. He's like...
He's projecting.
He's like, obviously, once the penis comes down, it's just floating around everywhere. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing to her. I'm just like...
Hey, there's
like
plenty of articles about this.
It's like jumping on a mattress suddenly. No, it's...
You search Superman sex online, and you will be there for a long time.
I know, but I mean...
Some of it isn't even pictures or video.
What I'm saying is the people that write this stuff, I don't think they're particularly experienced sexsmiths.
What are you trying to suggest about me?
Nothing about you. I think that's fine. I'm just saying that you look, you're a nice kid. I'd rather you hear it from me than out on the streets. But I think you're being easily influenced by that bloody pot smoker Kevin Smith. I think he's a troublemaker.
That wasn't Kevin Smith, actually.
Dare I said it.
That was an article called Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex. Which is pretty awesome, actually. You should Google it.
Yeah.
But, you know, alright, so this leads back to Kevin Smith. So let's go back to the ending of Superman 2, which is supposed to actually be a sequel. So at the end of Superman 2, Superman displays this heretofore unknown power, where he kisses Lois and wipes her memory of the last few days. And included in that memory wipe is a time where he had willingly depowered himself by exposing himself to red radiation or whatever.
And it's a new power for him, but I mean, it's something like Bill Cosby's been doing for years.
Yeah, but just through their mouth, not his mouth.
Yeah, that's right.
I need to compose myself. And, yeah, probably Bryan Singer as well, allegedly.
Allegedly. We don't know. How would we know? We're in Australia. Yeah. We're sitting in a water tank.
Yeah, we're not, you know, pre-teens in a spa. Like, how would we know these things?
Have you seen Fury Road? That's our life every day.
So, yeah, he's willingly depowered himself.
Yep.
So that him and Lois can get to the fucking... And at which point she also knew he was Clark, so this explains why he had to take her memory away. So... Now she doesn't know he's Clark in Superman Returns, so this memory wipe stuff is now canonical.
Yeah.
So canonically, there was this time where they totally humped, and he knocked her up the butter gutter.
Hang on. The butter gutter.
It exists.
Okay, yep.
And to reiterate, like if this was the time where she was impregnated, to use scientific terms instead of my smut, she's been made to forget about that.
So, hang on, butter gutter's not a scientific term. Right. Okay?
It's not canonical.
As I said, I learn new words and then I'll learn. I know now.
So then, at this moment that Jason displays this power, like when he kills Brutus by pushing the piano, Lois
says,
must...
tickle these ivories!
Lois must then come to the realization that the only possible father for this child, unless Richard has been hiding something from her, is Superman. But, and as Kevin Smith said, she can't fucking remember any of that happening because this memory has been taken from her. How fucked up would that be? Did Superman roofie her? Must be one of the first thoughts that pops into her mind. It's like, it's disturbing.
To quote Han Solo, women always discover the truth. I think it's intuition.
Nice work.
That's her superpower.
Intuition?
Yeah, women's intuition, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was fairly obvious. Well, her superpower isn't women's intuition because she doesn't even know that Clark is Superman.
But it is a loose sequel.
And
she's a loose woman. So I feel like...
Well, okay, so
I feel like you can fudge the details.
One, she either had a memory wipe or didn't. And two... How the fuck did Superman impregnate her? So, on top of all the other fucking issues that we have in this movie.
Yeah.
Like lifting the goddamn island.
Yep.
Superman flying for 5 years and getting a sick tummy. And Luthor's fucking land plan. It's crazy.
So it was different.
It's a crazy movie.
It was different from her Night with Superman that she wrote about.
Well, she wouldn't have written in a fucking prestigious newspaper about having sex with Superman, would she?
No, but
The night she wrote about was the one where, like, he met her on the rooftop and they went for that night flight in Superman 1, wasn't it?
She would if she wanted to sell newspapers.
Maybe. But would you win a Pulitzer Prize for that?
You'd win a Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to read out the ending. This is the ending of the book. I haven't read it yet.
Sorry, people, I got excited. It is fucking hot in here.
Superman flew over Metropolis. The earthquake had shaken the city, but the damage could have been worse. Though he was still drained from his ordeal, he didn't want to rest. There was too much to be done.
He helped construction crews shore up the buildings he had propped up with the crane.
He flew injured people to hospitals. It's Fraser Crane.
He carried pets from damaged buildings.
He helped the Red Cross deliver supplies to the people who needed them.
And mostly, he was happy.
He had saved Metropolis and a good portion of the Earth, and in doing so, he finally understood that belonging wasn't a matter of where you came from, it was the choices you made. It was being comfortable in your own skin, but mostly it was what you did to help other people.
This sounds like socialism. He had heard the people standing over him as he lay in that crater. Their gratitude, their willingness to help him, their faith in him, their certainty he belonged to them.
In turning from Lois to save Metropolis, he realised he had made his choice. He would always love her, but she belonged to Richard now.
Jesus Christ, this is property, isn't it?
Yeah.
While Superman belonged to the people of Metropolis. ... and the world.
Wow, so that was Superman Returns. What an epic return as well for this particular show. Now, I must ask you, was the book better?
I am surprisingly going to say yes this time.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because I didn't have that fucking Jason bullshit in it.
And it's got all that wacky extra stuff as well, and it's got the reason where he went. So,
yeah, it describes him going to Krypton, and it does not include the bit that he has impregnated Lois.
Good job, Louise Simonson. I'm very pleased with you.
Or Simonson. Jury's still out.
I think the 1M's a giveaway. So I'm going to read out just a couple of very brief Amazon reviews. The Superman fans...
I looked for stuff. I couldn't find anything.
Particularly articulate, but here we go. So 5 out of 5 stars. Format paperback, verified purchase. Great book with 16 photos from the movie worth getting. Yeah.
It's like 2015, and like presumably he doesn't own a copy of this movie or the internet.
I think
pictures are very important to him.
16 photos are a very good value proposition.
That's probably like $1 a photo.
It's almost a second a film. 16. Two-thirds of the way.
16,000 words.
Yeah, exactly. An extra 16,000 words in the middle. Shit. And, yeah. I think also they were photos that were worth getting, so that's not bad.
5 out of 5 for 16 photos.
Now this one, I love this one because the title is "Great to See You Back, Superman," and it was written last year as well. Yeah. This review.
# out of 5 stars. Couldn't even give it a number.
No, he got 5 out of 5 stars. Great to see you back, Superman. And this is the review. Wow, the digital graphics increases the suspense on this one.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Means he didn't realise that he was on a book page, and he's only just seen the movie. And, God, the graphics really increased the suspense, didn't they?
Suspense? Like, what was happening?
Well, yeah, you know.
I want to see the movie that this fucking guy saw. I want to, like, read the book that this guy read.
Yeah.
I want to look through his eyes and know what he was experiencing.
See the world like a newborn babe.
Oh, this sounds like a trip.
The Scrabble was a bit intense. So, there we go. That was Superman Returns. Obviously, Brandon Routh did not get to be the character again. Now it's a whole new era, a whole new set of movies.
Where would you rate him on the Superman scale?
I'm not ever...
Above Henry Cavill?
No, I don't know. I don't tend to, like, really want to even compare because I just think they're so different. Like, they're just completely different worlds. I think maybe that's the problem. But this is where you and I think, are going to differ. Because, like, I know, like, Suicide Squad's coming up.
As well as our fuck stars.
Yeah. And Europe, we're going to get an impartial third party to test this. I know you're not thrilled about the Joker. that come, and I've heard people that aren't thrilled about, like Harley Quinn, stuff like that.
Oh, she's better.
Yeah, yeah, but that's my point. See, one of them you would like, yeah, another one you're like, oh no, that's okay. And the thing is, there are so many. These are not set characters. These characters are fluid, and there's been so many versions of them over the years, and there will be so many versions of them in the future that I almost feel like, okay,
Yeah, but
now
you're
we're
presuming
seeing.
I'm tied to one particular characterization.
No, not at all. But I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be upset about
Maybe
one
I'm just
because
tied
it's
to good characterization.
because it's like, yeah, let's see what this guy does. Like, I like David Ayer as a director. I think he's cool. I liked Fury. So I'm like, I want to see what you do. And look, if no one likes it, there'll be a new Joker in a couple of years. Like, you know, it's all in motion. So
Yeah, but I'm not the
I
sort
like...
of person who will completely judge something. I'm judging based on what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing of the Joker and what I'm seeing of the movie doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah,
I'm still going to see it.
Yeah.
And I will give you my judgment. You better fucking believe it when it's all over. But yeah,
I think that's 100% valid. I think, and that's the sort of criticism I like, is when someone says, you know what, this doesn't appeal to me, this doesn't engage me. From my experience of this or whatever, I'm not enjoying that. There's nothing that they're doing that makes me happy. I think it's when people have that totally sort of supposedly objective, no, this is a shit thing.
But you get that from the other side as well, where you have all the people, all the fanboys are like, this is fucking amazing, this is going to be the best movie ever. And it's like, well, you are on just as shaky ground as the people on the absolute other side of the argument.
I absolutely agree.
It's
especially
us in the
when
middle.
there's so many things out there, and there'll be so many things out there again. It's just like, I'm just like, let's just roll with it. What's next? Like, I don't have an opinion on... I mean, I thought Brandon Routh was a really good choice if you're going to do a Christopher Reeve throwback movie.
Yeah, he was.
But I wouldn't want to see him in like Batman versus Superman,
No,
like
well,
in
that's
this
a totally
current world,
different
because it's
universe,
this Zack Snyder thing. I think like fucking Cavill could have some more luscious hair, but apart from that,
Oh god, on his chest he's got a fucking forest down there.
has he?
Yeah.
Okay,
That
well,
was the
that's
most
all.
disturbing thing about Man of Steel. Like,
Well, that's all I was
the
worried
sexy
about.
Superman's chest all the time. He's seeing his little hairs poking
It's
out.
too
It's
hairy.
like, oh god, what? This isn't Superman.
So what
the
you-
kiss curls are supposed to be on his forehead, not his fucking chest.
Yeah, no one's kissing those curls, pal. So we've established. All right, that is an epic episode of the Boob. I want to thank everyone for listening, for joining the show again. I hope some of you maybe had fun listening to the classics in the break, but otherwise, good to just have you back on the regular show. I do have quite a lot of episodes scheduled, so there shouldn't be any interruptions for a while, all things going well. Next week, Paris returns to the show. She'll be the guest, and I don't know what book we're doing.
Just like Superman.
We're either doing...
Paris has returned.
Yeah, there's a book that we're doing if another one doesn't arrive. So I'm going to keep it a surprise, but it's going to be cool. Go to fruitlesspursuits.com to find out all that we're doing, including the other show, which is FPcast, which is the pop culture weekly news review show. Check all that out. You'll find links to our iTunes, to our Facebook group where you can come and chat to us. You can rate and review us on iTunes. You can like us. You can, if you really love us, you can go and support us on Patreon, where there's some exclusive episodes. Lots of cool shit out there. Thanks again to you, my friend.
Thank you,
I have a
Mr.
feeling
Mildred.
this will be a regular team up because it works very well.
Can people endure the 2 hours plus?
I think they'll enjoy this. I think this will be all right. And yeah, I think there's some good things in the coming months that it would be suitable for maybe continuing some of this discussion. All right.
Give it a surprise.
So that's that. Thank you. We're getting out of here. We're going to piss off for 5 years like Superman. No, I'll be back next week. Do you remember the thing you got to say?
No, I do not.
Catch you on the flips.
Catch you on the flips.
Jumanji.